the tournament. Number 1, Notre Dame. No surprise there. 12-1, defending national champs. They've won 32 of their last 35 games. They're ACC champs, and we'll have more on them in a little bit. Number 2, Duke. A very up-and-down season for Duke. At times, they look unbeatable against Virginia at home. Then a couple of weeks later, they lose to North Carolina. All the way to the ACC championship game before falling to Notre Dame earlier today. Number 3, Hopkins. Sort of a similar situation. At times during the year, they looked very good, and then at other times, stumbling a bit. Fell to Michigan in the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament. So the silver lining might be they're well rested, and you could say, something similar with number 4. Syracuse, Clark.
Well, look, props to Gary Gate. 3rd year leading the Orange. They love it up in Central New York. 3 wins year 1, 8 wins year 2, now 11. This is a team that is built and their foundation is based on their sophomore group. And then they have pieces to a puzzle. Transfers like Jake Stevens and Sammy English from Princeton. This team is complete. Offensively, they're really tough to scout because they move the ball so well.
Let's move to the number 5 seed. And we're going to go to the Big East, and we're going to go out to Denver. So somebody, Q, is going to make the trip to the Mile High City.
Denver got off to a great start this year, early in the year, beating Johns Hopkins and Cornell early in the year. Matt Brown, their first-year head coach, leads the Pios to 11 wins. Strong face-offs with Alex Stathakis, but it's all about D, averaging less than 10 goals against per game with A.J. Mercurio.
The number 6 seed in this tournament, it's going to be Virginia. Virginia struggled down the stretch. They lost 4 games in a row, including in the ACC tournament, against very good competition. But Lars Tiffany and company, they need to find themselves, don't they?
Yeah, they need to have confidence right off the bat in round 1. And I think it's critical for them to go back to their knowns. Connor Schellenberger, the school's all-time leading point scorer. Peyton Cormier leads the nation in goals with 55. That's a duo that won a national title as freshmen in 2021. Ride those horses, and they need their midfield really to step up and be assertive in goal scorers.
The 7th seed in this tournament, the Maryland Terrapins, national champions from a couple of years ago. The Terps come in at 8-5, solid resume. Their RPI was really high all season long, and that drove them to that number 7 seed. Rounding out the seeded teams at number 8, Georgetown. So the Big East champions at 12-3. Kevin Warren got that huge win on the road at Notre Dame, the Irish's only loss. So they slot in at number 8. Anything surprise you in terms of that seeding?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I thought it was a slight bump up for Denver. I thought Denver would be maybe slotted 6 or 7, but everything there looks fair and kind of on par with what we thought.
Yeah, I think the committee did a fantastic job. I also think the number 8 team, Georgetown, is an interesting bunch because offensively they're pretty veteran-laden, right?
Yep.
They have guys like Alexander Vardaro and Graham Bundy Jr., but they have a freshman goaltender, Anderson Moore, who has the potential to take over games.
And when we come back, we'll reveal the bracket. So we already have the AQs. We already have the 8-seeded teams. We'll take a look at teams like Notre Dame and their road to repeat as national champions when we come back here on The Selection Show. Q, Clark, and Cott back with you. Let's go through the brackets. Number 1, Notre Dame. We just revealed their seed. Who will they play? The play-in game, the opening round game, Albany and Sacred Heart. Albany, Albany. The Great Danes celebrating. Saw them singing in the locker room.
Purple Haze.
Yeah, Q.
11th NCAA tournament bid.
And they'll face Clark. A daunting task. The winner of that game, the Fighting Irish.
They ended the season number 1, hoisting the trophy for the first time in school history. Dare I say this team is more complete and even better? It appears that way. They've been dominant. The Kavanaugh brothers obviously had attack with Jake Taylor. And it's the emergence of this midfield. You know about Eric Dobson, but the freshman Jordan Faison has made this team complete because he's an electric playmaker with a first step that's like a hiccup.
Sunday 2:30 game. Georgetown, the 8th seed, will play host to Penn State. That's an interesting matchup too. Penn State, the number 2 team out of the Big Ten, will go on the road to take on the Georgetown Hoyas, Card.
Yeah, I think Penn State has one of the top goaltenders in the nation, and Jack Frasian, who struggled in the Big Ten championship, and he has to deal with an offense in Georgetown that really can fill it up. There's a couple guys on the midfield that are pro prospects. One is that guy right there, Graham Bundy Jr.
Penn State's really got the same team from last year that went to championship weekend. They were a goal away from playing in the NCAA finals, led by goalie Jack Frassion and attackman TJ Malone.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, with Penn State is we kind of thought they were one of those teams 7th, 8th, 9th as far as the at-large bid. So Penn State gets in. They were kind of on the bubble coming in. Probably thought they were in, but weren't 100% sure.
No, the way things went on championship week with the bid stealers, and then you lose in the Big Ten championship game. So it's a fortunate spot for Penn State.
Let's move on. The 4-5 bracket. Again, we showed you the seeded teams moments ago. So Denver, they'll play host on Saturday at 5 o'clock Eastern to Michigan. So the Big Ten champions will make their way out west, and the Wolverines celebrating another Big Ten title.
It's a refuse-to-lose mentality with Kevin Connery and that staff, and then the senior leadership, guys like Michael Boehm, I think, have really captivated that program in terms of their leadership. And then Denver is a team with first-year coach Matt Brown, who's taken over for the legendary coach Bill Tierney, who has more national titles than anyone. There's a buzz in Denver, man. Wow. They get behind the Pios.
Yeah, they've gotten great crowds this year. It's an excellent defense. It's a veteran team, a bunch of older guys. In the face-off matchup, Alex Stathakis going head-to-head with Justin Wheatfeld in this game will be compelling. I like the defense of Coach Matt Brown and the Pios.
Rolling on, Syracuse. Who's going up to the Dome? The Sunday night game, Towson. That's a rematch of what? The 1991 National Championship game, old school Q. Towson, they're fired up. They're one of the hottest teams in the country coming into this thing.
13-3. They've won 9 straight games. Again, they too have a strong face-off game with Matt Constantinides, but Nick DeMeo and Mikey Weishauer have been dominant.
I think Mikey Weishauer is one of the most underrated offensive players in the country. He's a big recruit, decided to stay home in Baltimore to play for Sean Nadalin. But Cuse has all the pieces to make a run for championship weekend, and the midfield play by Jake Stevens and fellow Canadian and high school teammate Owen Hiltz has been spectacular. Joey Spallina is 4th in the country in overall points, and they have lots of veteran leadership and pieces to a puzzle to support the young stars like Spallina.
Number 1 seed in the Big Ten tournament was Johns Hopkins. Sunday at noon, Homewood welcomes Lehigh, the Patriot champs. So Lehigh, Q, when you think about the type of play, the style of play, Lehigh wants to slow it down and muck it up, don't they?
They beat BU in the league championship game with a late game comeback. Congratulations to their first-year head coach, Will Scudder. Scott Cole is an excellent offensive player, and Richard Checo is a master of destruction.
You know, it's interesting. John Crawley, the offensive coordinator, coached at Lehigh, and he recruited a lot of those players that are on the Mountain Hawks team. And he has a wealth of talented players like Garrett Degnan, who could stretch a defense with a hammer of a shot. Jacob Angeles is one of the best playmakers from behind the cage because of his vision as a passer and a scorer.
Hopkins finding their way back, looking for championship weekend. Offense the last 2 outings has been a little shaky.
Virginia in Charlottesville at Klockner. Noon on Saturday plays St. Joe's in Clark. This is a tough St. Joe's team, isn't it?
Tough is an understatement. This is probably the one unseeded team I would want nothing to do with.
Really?
Yes, we had them when they were in New Haven at Yale in the first round, and they took the Bulldogs to the wire, and they have so many of those same characters still on the team. Matt Bomar's a 4-time captain. Levi Anderson scored 7 goals against Richmond. Carter Page is the inside threat. Levi Birch running the middle of the field. Virginia has a serious problem on their hands with St. Joe's because they don't care that they're going down to play against them. And I think this is a midfield group that needs to wake up for Lars Tiffany to support some of the attack play. The production of that group, I think, will dictate how they end their season at Virginia.
The 2 seed, the Duke Blue Devils at Koskinen. I'm sorry, we're going to start with Maryland first. 7:30 on Saturday. Princeton, so the Ivy League champs, Princeton, heads to College Park to take on Maryland. Yeah, they're not tired from their 2 games in 3 days, celebrating big time.
It's a team that's really played excellent lacrosse over the last 3 games. They got stars at each level, whether it's Colton McAsee on attack, Colin Mulshine on defense, their Fogo Andrew McMeekin, or goalie Michael Gianfrancaro. And now you got experience. Young team, yeah, but they've been in the tournament before.
Young team indeed. More than half their goals are from the freshman class. And this is a sophomore, Braden Urza, that has hyper speed in terms of his dodging ability. I think the Terps have been searching for an identity offensively. 2 years ago in 2022, when they were undefeated and won the championship, the ball moved so fast and everyone kind of fit a piece to a puzzle. I just think there might be some lack of playmakers offensively to provide the constant punch that we're expected from Maryland. But this is a great opportunity. This is one of the best games of the weekend.
Now the 2-seed Duke Blue Devils rounding things out, and they'll take on Utah from the A-Sun. So 12-4, Carc, Utah once again in this tournament.
This is an interesting team. 4th in goals per game, 4th in fewest turnovers per game. So this is an ultra-efficient offense. They can make you pay. Ryan Steins and Tyler Bradbury, both over 50 points on the season. But they have to deal with Duke, and Duke has the best player talent-wise in the country in Brennan O'Neill. And Andrew McAdory now just switched to attack in the ACC tournament. He had 5 goals Friday night against Syracuse, so he adds another dimension, Quinn.
Duke's a tough read. Moments of greatness where they look like a national champion. Yeah. Moments where they might not win this first-round game.
Well, the three of us just returned from the Ivy League tournament, which was a great tournament. We saw some great lacrosse up in Ithaca. And now that we've revealed the brackets, only one team from the Ivy made it. The AQ, they got Princeton in. And if you're Cornell, if you're Penn, and if you're Yale, you have to be thinking, what do we have to do? All three of these teams were just on the outside looking in.
Well, I think what hurt them was Michigan was a bid stealer. When Michigan won the Big Ten, one of the Ivy teams was going to drop. This is a league, and I said it during the Ivy League Championship this weekend, that I think will be the best in college lacrosse talent-wise next year. They had teams in those three that no one would want to play, but the numbers just didn't add up. It's not about the eye test. The eye test tells you all these guys can play with the best.
They will go scorched earth on the lacrosse league next year. Penn beat Duke, Cornell beat Syracuse, Yale beat Denver. It was all spread out.
You mentioned the bid stealer in Michigan. The Wolverines do it once again. Big Ten champs. And when we come back, we'll check in with Michael Boehm. He had a huge tournament in Columbus, and the Wolverines are dancing once again.
All right, so.
Boy, I tell you what, Michigan is deja vu all over again. Similar situation last year to this year. Backs against the wall, had to win games, every game in the Big Ten tournament, and win it all to qualify. They did it last year, and they did it again this year in beating Penn State for the championship game. Michael Boehm joins us right now. He had a huge tournament. 9 goals, 5 assists, 14 points. He got the dub. Michael, what is it about this Michigan team, both last year and this year, that when your backs are against the wall here in May, you guys come to play?
Yeah, obviously, I think it's just a refuse to lose mindset that we have within our team. Again, I think it was a big thing going into this weekend of kind of refusing to lose every little moment and just trying to buy more time together. And this team is super close, and we love each other so much that's probably the biggest thing, that we're just trying to get to spend some more time with each other and try and win as many games as possible here.
Michael, when you just mentioned the refuse to lose mindset, what does that look like in the locker room? What does that look like when you're on the field together?
Yeah, it's, I think it starts with all the little things. And you talk about on the field, I think it's picking up a ground ball on the offensive end, riding the ball back, clearing the ball at an efficient rate, pointing to our teammates when we score, celebrating with 6. I think it's all those little things. And, refusing to lose your relationships with your teammates and, getting to know somebody a little bit closer and a little bit better. And, our first purpose is to create and deepen meaningful relationships. And so I think refusing to lose that purpose is a huge part of our team and our culture. And, that's something that we're never going to lose no matter what. If we win, lose, tie, it doesn't matter. That's always going to be a constant within the Michigan Wolverines.
Mikey, what did you learn last year on your run to the quarterfinals that you can apply now this week prior to your first round game?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was a new experience. We had media practice. There was definitely a sense of urgency and a hype around our team last year, kind of being a Cinderella story. But, honestly, not a whole lot's going to change from what we've done week to week leading up to this moment. It's been kind of just focusing on the process and focusing on us. And, at the end of the day, we're just going to go out and, again, kind of just do all those little things and enjoy our time together and work extremely hard and go out and see where the chips fall when we play Denver on Saturday.
Yeah, Michael, we appreciate the time. Best of luck in Denver. Enjoy your time out there. We'll chat with you later.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Again, congratulations to Michael Boehm and the Michigan Wolverines. Second year in a row, Big Ten champs and making the dance. We're going to tie a bow on things when we come back here on the Selection Show. Television schedule. Everybody get your Palm Pilots and write this down. Next week, Saturday and Sunday, all day starting at noon on ESPNU quarterfinal, semifinal action. It all wraps up on Memorial Day weekend on ESPN. Final thoughts.
Notre Dame was in search for their first national title a year ago, and they delivered. How do they handle being the favorite now?
Great games in the first. I mean, the 8-9 game, Georgetown, Penn State, off the charts. It'll be interesting to watch Towson, St. Joe's, and then Maryland and Virginia. Can they bounce back in this postseason?
Hugh, great to see you as always. Clark, you and I got the PLL draft coming up on Tuesday night, so we're going to hang out here in Bristol for that. Lots of celebrations today. There'll be a lot more coming up. 17 teams in the NCAA Lacrosse tournament. Enjoy it, folks.